Let's start with introductions. Hello, I'm Lucas, and I'm an artist currently known by Artrocity online, and I have an obsession with cowboys to a probably unhealthy, unnormal extent. As a result, I've ended up making so many OCs, and many cowboy and western themed ones specifically, along with my dear friend, bless their soul, who I've bitten and infected with my cowboy fever. Recently on my Tumblr, I've been dumping all my random doodles and assorted drawings of these OCs, but I just haven't posted any more of them. So, to any outsider, which is practically anyone besides me and my friend, this just becomes unintelligible chaos. So, here's my attempt at filling in the context between all the nonsense I otherwise make, for those who are interested, or at least this is now the space where I can yap into the void to spare any unwilling victim from the unrelenting amount of information I have about these random ass guys trapped in my mind. Because at the end of the day, the demons in the blood demand I talk about my favorite characters, else my head explodes. And with that, welcome to Lore Dump! Today we're starting with probably some of my favorite, if not most favorite OCs in the history of forever, August and Matteo, and their story, which I have unofficially, but very affectionately named Coldbloods. Okay, so originally I got August and Matteo from the sales account of their original designer Trailcam on Toy House. To make a short story long, both of them weren't much aside from a design and a few extra pieces of art attached, but something about the two of them just called to me. Like deep down, I believed they had a lot of potential. One brief exchange with the seller, and 60 USD later they were transferred over to me. And from that day, I have never been the same again. So let's meet them. August and Matteo are an outlaw duo that later become part of a trio within their main story. Having known each other since childhood, they've adopted an albeit unofficial but otherwise loyal brothership to one another. August, being the older of the two, naturally acts as the more mature and serious brains of the operation. However, his confidence in his skills and intelligence can cause him to be closed-minded to outside opinions. He can get easily frustrated when things don't go exactly to his plans. Also, due to events in his past, he has become very closed off to others, generally finding it very hard to open up and always tend to come across as cold, if not outright hostile towards them. This is even to the extent he is resistant to a lot of physical contact, until he can eventually learn to put his guard down and genuinely trust someone. Other than that, he tends to enjoy journaling and the occasional book to read or wood-whittling project. Out of the two, he is much more proficient in jobs like horse care, knife and gun handling, swindling, haggling, and of course, planning heists. Also a fun fact, if you want to push his buttons very easily, his full first name is actually Augustus, and truth be told, he hates being called it. He is also a snake, I should probably mention that. Matteo, on the other hand, being 7 years younger than his brother, is a very high-spirited gecko who loves getting up to mischief and being the annoying little sibling. Despite his less than ideal upbringing and perhaps lower than average intelligence, he always tries to be optimistic and open to new things, even at the cost of seeming naive or incompetent. A caveat to this is, unlike his brother, Matteo has always struggled in academic endeavors, and even his current story is still functionally illiterate, which may be in part to an undiagnosable learning disability, but that's neither here nor there. He is surprisingly both fast on horse and foot though. He is also adept at lockpicking, pickpocketing, cooking, and various other camp husbandry related chores, which means he can quickly complete the job and get away, most likely so he can get back to goofing off. Despite being practically polar opposites, they rely on each other and will always have each other's back, working together to survive. Just in my opinion, I love a dynamic that plays off as contrast, but also where one character's weakness is supported by the other's strengths. The yin and yang of it all, if you will. The world they live in is set in the American Wild West sometime during the mid to late 1800s, with a mostly grounded, non-fantastical theme, save for the fact they're all furries, but nonetheless still very much inspired by the world of Red Dead Redemption. Go figure. Additionally, While not an outstanding detail of the universe, over time we've happened to develop this somewhat acknowledged cultural and biological divide between the warm-blooded animals, such as foxes, bears, pretty much anything with fur, and the cold-blooded animals such as fish and reptiles. Get it now? Coldbloods? Yep. Alright. Save for some plot device and fun headcanons, we haven't really explored this aspect though, because then we might start getting into race allegory territory, and as a white boy, I probably shouldn't be allowed to touch that even with a 10-foot pole. God forbid I start doing something Zootopia about it. Regardless, the anther aspect can pretty much be swapped out for just regular human cowboy shenaniganry. This of which just gave me an excuse to draw them as humans too, which is fine, big A for me. I love having options. But back to the story. August and Matteo both began their lives in a small mining town within the mountainous desert regions of Arizona known as Coyote Hill. Matteo at the time lived with his father, who worked as a miner, who, unfortunately due to his line of work and general persuasion to the drink, he wasn't a very good parent. August, on the other hand, just lived and worked on a very, very modest cattle ranch with his mother. The two likely met when they were fairly young, playing out on the street with the other local kids. It being a small place, folks likely knew each other and thus were also to some degree aware of Matteo's situation. As a result, August ended up taking him under his wing, and as they were growing up, just tried his best to look over him and protect him if need be. Entering his teen years though, August grew more and more discontent with life in Coyote Hill, frequently getting into fights due to his hot temper, and he, along with a few of the other kids, began committing petty crimes around town, calling themselves a gang. Heavy quotations there. One member of this gang in particular was a coyote named Billy, who will become relevant a little bit later, but for now was someone who just often bumped heads the most with August. Kind of like that trope with the leader of the group and then the second groupie who wants to overthrow them. This, of course, was until one day the group of delinquents encountered a real band of outlaws who had come into the town. The gang belonged to an infamous outlaw of the time known as Mad Jack, a fox who was well known for his reputation to brutalize and leave a trail of blood and ashes wherever he went. I'm unsure what exact events had transpired between accidentally picking a fight with a member of the gang, or even falling into working with them for a time until they tried to pull out of a real serious crime. Either way, this resulted in the gang ransacking the town and literally burning it to the ground. August and Matteo had managed to fight off Jack and escape, but were still left devastated with the loss of their homes and family. With no other options, and taken over by the grief, August decided they would go on the run. The two were 17 and 11 years old respectively when they began their life as young outlaws, train hopping and stowing away on wagons as they travelled from town to town, never staying in one place as they feared being followed by Jack's gang or getting caught by the local sheriffs for the thefts and other crimes they would commit in order to survive and gather supplies. Though in the times they were arrested, they also began developing their skills in order to break out again. Over time, this had developed into their MO, arriving in a town and committing various heists and cons before avoiding or escaping capture, slowly accruing their reputation as the Snake Brothers. With the growing bounty over their heads, they took advantage of this as well by creating a scheme to fake handing in one another and collecting the bounty, before breaking him out again and evading the law once more. This too contributed to their reputation. The string of crimes had led them from Texas and up through Oklahoma until they eventually reached California in the late 1800s, 10 years later. This is where they then meet the third member of their party, a particular trickster of a fish created by my friend, who goes by the name JJ. The two met JJ during one of their jailbreak escapades and helped them to escape too, which afterwards they begged to join their posse, demonstrating their incredible ability as a master of disguise. Finding a skill like this useful, August begrudgingly agreed, for one job only. This plan, however, goes awry after a bear attacks the camp and the three stick together while JJ heals from their injuries. They then later have an encounter with another band of outlaws, one of which being Billy, who recognizes Tio and Gus. As it turns out, Billy had joined Mad Jack's gang, and after all these years, the two reptiles are still wanted by the infamous outlaw for escaping Coyote Hill and blinding him in one eye. The trio managed to escape, but just as soon, Billy and the other goons report back to Jack with their findings. August, Matteo, and JJ go on the run again to flee from the gang now pursuing them, all while facing the impending winter, which for cold blood like this, in short, is bad news. This all comes to a head when Jack finally catches up to the party and captures the three. He doesn't simply kill them, however, as he's aware of something both August and Matteo, up until now, have yet to discover. JJ, who claimed to have left his hometown for a life of adventure, is actually a wanted woman by the name of Jewel Malaya Aquino. It is also revealed that with the help of Mad Jack, she was tracked down and betrayed by her brother after she had killed their father and subsequently fled. Now backed into a corner, Jack had presented a cruel ultimatum to them. Kill her partners to be let go, getting away with the crime again, or escape by herself and leave them to die. Thankfully, the three once again managed to escape, but the wedge had successfully been drawn between them. August and JJ have an altercation, resulting in the two brothers parting ways with them. The rest of the story as it stands is yet to be fleshed out, but the three will eventually reunite and rebuild their trust in each other as they fight their circumstances, overcome their oppositions, becoming a solid trio for life. And that's their story so far. I mean, in an ideal world, I would really love to see this story as an animated series or web series, though they could also maybe work within a comic. In the meantime though, I have made no spare effort in creating various alternate universes with my friend and creating other projects to further explore their characters and individual dynamics, some of which very well may one day have their own dedicated lore dump. If you'd like to learn more about either August and Matteo though, there's plenty of random trivia still available on their Toy House pages, or plenty of doodles with stray character interactions and info over on my Tumblr. There's even some shipping content if you've ever wanted to see two guys kiss a girl. And of course, there's bound to be more written or illustrated works made by me to come. I also really love learning about other people's characters and their worlds too, so if anything, reach out and we can swap brain rot together. But for now, this has been a lore dump. If you use this as background noise while you drew, gamed, went to sleep, whatever, I hope you made good progress and are now sleeping well. Either way, thank you so very much for listening to me out, and I'll possibly see you in the next one. Bye!